Hello guys and welcome back. So the last time we were rendering this, we're getting black renders, and the reason for that is because these lights by default they have attenuation turned on, and this is a physically accurate attenuation. So the intensity reaching this was very low, almost nothing. So what we need to do is we need to turn off the attenuation completely, and we can do that by going under the attenuation option and changing this to no attenuation. Okay, and everything else is the same. I'm gonna hit render, and motion blur is off at the moment, and that adds a lot to the visual. So if we see points that are very sharp, when we motion blur them, we're gonna get proper or much better result. Now I also added the statue here, and so I'll call this statue. I'm gonna call this. I'm gonna use this as a matte. I don't want it to be visible. I just want to use it as a matte in this scene. So inside this this section here, I'm gonna say force object. I want the particles, and then the force matte. I want the statue, and then everything else. So it's gonna use this to matte out everything else, and it's also going to be used in the computing the shadows. And you can see we're getting nice shadows from the spotlight, and then nice fill. The other thing I did is I changed the colors to be orange for the main spotlight, and then blue, and lowered the intensity so we get something like this. And you can see now we're matting out the statue. Okay, I'm gonna lower the point size to 0.3. I think they're too big. I'm gonna make sure that I'm reading the correct particles cache. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So now let's do a high-res render and take a look at the quality. So set that to motion blur to on. I'm gonna set this to 14 by 14. And the higher the better, of course. And let's change the camera shutter speed to 1. I want to increase the motion blur. I set it to 1. Let's hit render and see what we get. Okay. Cool. So see, it's much better already with this look, with the motion blur turned on. And the only thing left is, see, the main feature for this is to be able to do transparent or fake translucent effect, and right now I'm not seeing that quite well. And what we can do is we can lower the opacity, the shadow intensity, and this will make them travel less or less dense as they travel through the object. So I'm going to set this to 0.9, and this is very sensitive, so we have to be careful. I'm also going to increase the quality of the shadow for both of them and give them a little bit of blur. Let me check the values. So 0.05 for both of them. And let's hit render again. And this should make the light travel through, or feel like it's traveling through the object a lot more. Right now it feels almost like a surface casting shadow on top of all of this. And we can take a look at it without any LUTs, because the LUT will crunch the shadow areas, and so this is how it looks without the LUT, in case we needed that. Cool. So this is with the shadow set to 0.9. And I think it's too much blur, and shadow intensity is too low for some reason. So let's lower both of them. So this to 0.1. And let's set this to 0.95 and see how that looks. Okay. Next time I'll open the shell so we can take a look at this depth map shadow going in the background. Cool. So yeah, this value is very, very sensitive. You have to be very careful with that. And you can see now we're getting this very, very soft and nice look to the particles. Let's go to a different frame. And I'm going to move the shadow, the fill light a bit. Sorry, the fill light, which is this. Something like that. I'm also going to move the spotlight, the main spotlight, like this, just to improve the angle a bit. And I'm going to desaturate the color. I think it's too warm right now. Something like that. Let's maybe increase the intensity to 1.6. And let's go, yeah, frame 200 is good. Check how much points we have. 15 almost. Cool. And let's increase this to 16. And let's hit render. And that's pretty much it. The key for this method is the depth map shadow, the isotropic volume to give this these points a fake volume look, and then the shadow transparency or the shadow intensity to give them this nice bleed effect. And again, this is all using the raise algorithm, and it's using 7 gigabytes memory. Probably use a lot less if I use less threads, because right now I have a lot of threads and each one of them is occupying certain memory, is adding to the memory required for the render to finish. If you have less buckets, it will finish using a lot less memory than this, probably half of this. And cool. And again, the render time is insane. If we look at what we're doing, we're rendering 15 million points using this awesome soft look. And again, this is how you would render foam, for example, or splashes or mist that is point based. Okay, so actually I wanted to try something else. I want to improve this a bit. Pardon me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this here in SOPs, and then we're going to transfer it to the shader level. So we have the color variation at the SOP level, but we also have the velocity. So if we take the length of the velocity and use that to vary the shading, we could get something really, really cool, and we can add complexity to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compute the length of the velocity, and let's plug that into the color, and let's range this. Okay, so it goes between 0 and 10. Cool. So see this, how we're getting this, these objects, these points are moving faster, and then we have all this stuff is black, and so this will add a lot to the visual of the in the shader. Okay, let's say 15, and then we're gonna use a ramp and vary the color using this ramp. So let's say the base color is going to be brown, maybe like this, and then I'm gonna have a blue color, for example, here. Okay, let's see how that looks. So I'm gonna have this open, and let's reapply the same thing in the shader. Let's go to matte and import the point velocity. So bind, we need the V attribute, which is the velocity. It's a vector, so we're going to compute the length, fit range 0 to 10, and then a ramp, and I'm going to use this as the diffuse color. Okay. Pardon me. Let's go up and let's have that list. I think it's this one. Yeah. So let's say always on top. I'm going to copy this guy. Paste here. I think maybe make it darker. And then this guy. Not paste relative, just paste values. And I'm going to add a white color here. Maybe saturate this a bit more. And I just wanted a variation basically. Okay, cool. So let's go back to the object level, make sure we're not passing in this color information. Okay, so that's our shader as it is, and I'm gonna hit render. And another thing that we could try, I've tried this myself, but we can try to mix between the transparent look and this. For example, we can add transparency to this shader and see how that affects the look. It's probably going to make the shadows a lot more transparent, but maybe we can create something cool out of it. So this is with the velocity driving the color. So the faster it goes, the brighter the color gets, and then the emission is still pretty dark. So let's go to a different frame. It's actually very cool. I'm gonna darken the initial color even more and desaturate it. So this guy, desaturate it like that, darken it. And let's hit render. And we're in a different frame now, so it's gonna have a lot more points. Almost there. The LUT is also helping a lot with these values. So if I view this in a sRGB, you're gonna have a lot less contrast, but it's something you can always do in comp as well. But I'd like to view it here. Come on. Started because we have a lot of points, so everything is going to be slower overall. And you can see now we have a lot of cool color variation, and we have a nice soft and snow-like look that makes this feel very, very nice. This look is almost impossible, really hard if not impossible to do with a PBR and ray tracing. I think it's impossible to get this exact same look and this nice feel to it. Cool. I'm gonna do one last thing. I don't know how slow it's gonna take, so I'm gonna pause and continue in the next video. For the opacity, set this to a vector, and I'm gonna set it to 0.2 here and see how that affects the look. It's probably gonna be very transparent, and so the shadows will be a lot more less visible. So we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna hit render and then we'll continue in the next video. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in a bit.